You're listening to Ghostumentary Scary Short Stories, original pieces updated throughout the week.
Broken down in Texas. Tanner wiped his sweaty palms on his jeans, staring down the empty country road. It was too quiet, the kind of quiet that made your skin crawl, that made you question every little noise in the dark. The moon was bright overhead, casting long shadows across the fields, but the silence was absolute. It had been 30 minutes since his dad called the tow truck. 40 minutes? He'd said. That meant it should be here soon. Right? Any time now. He shifted in the driver's seat of the borrowed Toyota Tercel, glancing nervously out the cracked window. The car had sputtered and died with no warning, leaving him stranded in the middle of nowhere, just outside of Austin. He hated the night. Always had. There was something about the way the darkness seemed to breathe around him, like it was alive. Watching, and out here. No lights, no people, just endless empty fields. His thoughts were interrupted by a faint hum in the distance. Tanner straightened, peering through the windshield. Lights appeared over the hill ahead. The tow truck. He let out a relieved breath, grabbed his phone, and saw a text from his dad asking for an update. He quickly texted back, "I think I see the truck." As the headlights grew closer, Tanner stepped out of the car, the gravel crunching beneath his feet. The truck's engine roared. It was bigger than he thought it would be. As it approached, it suddenly slammed on the brakes, screeching to a halt about 100 yards away. Tanner squinted into the blinding light, raising a hand to shield his eyes. Why had it stopped so far back? The truck idled there, unmoving. "Hello?" Tanner called out, his voice swallowed by the night. No answer. His heart began to race. The truck sat still for a long moment, its engine rumbling. Then, with a loud rev, it slowly began to back up. 30 feet. Then it stopped again. The headlights flickered, then clicked off. The engine died. The truck disappeared into the darkness. Tanner felt a chill crawl up his spine. Something wasn't right. He took a step forward, then hesitated. What was happening? Why wasn't anyone getting out? He swallowed hard, the silence pressing down on him. He called out again, louder this time. "Hello?" Nothing. A sharp sound broke the quiet, a truck door creaking open, then slamming shut. But no footsteps followed, no movement. Tanner strained his ears, listening, but heard only the faint whisper of the wind through the fields. His pulse quickened. Where was the driver? Why hadn't they come closer? Tanner scrambled back into the Toyota, locking the doors. His breathing was fast, panicked. His hand shook as he tried to start the car, but it was dead. The engine refused to turn over. He sat in the quiet, staring out at the spot where the truck had vanished. He couldn't see it, couldn't see anything. He pulled out his phone and sent another text to his dad. "Something's wrong. Can you call the police?" He waited, gripping the steering wheel with white-knuckled hands. His phone buzzed. His dad was calling. Tanner quickly answered. "Dad? Dad, I think something's..." But the call dropped. No service. The single bar of reception had vanished. His breath hitched in his throat. He had to get out of here. He couldn't just sit there, waiting. Tanner opened the car door slowly, stepping out into the night. The air felt thick, oppressive. He crept toward where the truck had been, walking faster as his anxiety mounted. His footsteps sounded unnaturally loud against the asphalt. The truck came back into view, hulking in the darkness like some kind of ancient, dead beast. Its bulk seemed larger now, more menacing. Tanner's flashlight trembled in his grip as he shined it over the door. Mission Towing. The company his dad had called, but the paint on the door, it was smeared with something dark, wet. Blood. Tanner's breath caught in his throat. He shined the light into the cab. The seats, the steering wheel, blood splattered everywhere. His heart pounded in his ears as he stumbled back. his flashlight landing on a set of boot prints leading away from the truck. They disappeared into the grass at the side of the road. Tanner backed away, his skin crawling. He had to get out of here. He tried to dial his dad again, but there was no signal. No one was coming to help him. Tanner decided to run, the opposite direction of his car, not knowing what was ahead, but most likely not the boots. Tanner bolted, his legs pumping as the roar of the engine started and grew deafening behind him. He ran blindly, feet slamming against the ground, heart pounding so hard it felt like it might explode. The truck's lights bore down on him. Blinding. Impossibly fast. It was right behind him. He threw himself to the side at the last second, crashing into the dirt. The truck screamed past him, skidding to a halt farther down the road. For a moment, all was quiet except for the ragged sound of Tanner's breathing. He lay still, too terrified to move. Then he heard the door creak open again. Boots hit the ground. Tanner's blood ran cold. He couldn't see the man, but he knew. Those boots, they were searching for him. The sound of footsteps moved away, toward the opposite side of the road. Tanner's mind raced. His only chance was to take the truck. It was still running, engine rumbling like a living thing. He had to act now. With all the courage he could muster, sprinted to the truck and flung open the door. He jumped inside, slammed it into gear, and hit the gas. The truck roared to life, speeding down the road, away from whatever nightmare had come for him. He didn't look back, didn't dare. He drove for miles until he saw the lights of a gas station. It was closed, but it didn't matter. Light, safety. Tanner parked the truck under the buzzing fluorescent sign and finally allowed himself to breathe. He was safe. He looked down at his hands. They were shaking, covered in blood. He glanced around the cab again, blood on the seats, on the dashboard. His skin crawled. What the hell had happened in this truck? His phone buzzed. Service. He dialed his dad, breathless, explaining everything in a rush. His dad was calling the police. They'd be there soon. Tanner leaned back in the seat, trying to calm his racing heart. He'd made it. He was safe. But then, in the distance, he saw headlights again. Another car, approaching slowly, too slowly. It didn't look right. As it drew closer, Tanner squinted at the markings on the car. Something dark. Something wrong. The car swerved, and before Tanner could react, it slammed into him, knocking him to the ground. Dazed and winded, Tanner stared up at the headlights as the driver's door opened. The boots stepped out, the same boots from the truck. They came closer, the weight of them crushing the gravel beneath their soles. He realized the police his father sent had managed to find where Tanner left the car, where Tanner also left the man in the boots. And the boots won. Tanner tried to crawl away, but his body wouldn't move. He was paralyzed with fear. The boots stopped right beside him. And then one of them came crashing down on his head. Sharp pain, darkness, nothing.
Looking for more scary tales? Subscribe to our podcast and visit ghostumentary.com. Let us know what you think or share with us your scary tales. We might just make a new story from it.